Coming up on Mountain News this morning, an announcement means Kentucky will be building more than a dozen charging stations for electric vehicles. And an upcoming vote on a constitutional amendment is already facing some opposition.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning, I'm Olivia Calfee. The time is, well, it's almost 6 a.m. on Friday, May 24th. Now let's go ahead and send it over to meteorologist Tim Drawbridge for a look at your forecast.
And who's ready for the weekend, right? 61 outside our door here at WYMT. The clouds departing out to the east and southeast. And as skies have cleared out across central Kentucky the last several hours, all that moisture, light, not calm winds, has ended up meaning dense fog has developed. And that's where we do find a dense fog advisory. In effect, nothing for eastern and southern Kentucky, and I don't think it'll end up happening as we've got civil twilight and sunrise taking place. And, well, as the sun works on the atmosphere, any fog will end up burning off, and these temperatures will rise from the upper 50s and low and mid 60s and top out close to 80 this afternoon. Here are the departing showers still lingering. Northern Pike County up toward Louisa, Charleston over to Beckley. And we'll end up with a partly sunny sky as we head through today. Can't rule out the slightest risk of a pop-up shower or thundershower and a forecast high this afternoon up close to 80. More about the First Alert 7-day forecast through the holiday weekend. That's coming up in a few moments. Olivia?
Thank you, Tim. Governor Andy Beshear announced that the state has contracted private developers to build 18 more charging stations for electric vehicles. The 8 developers selected will receive nearly $12 million in federal funding. The plan is for Kentucky to eventually have charging stations located every 50 miles along interstates and parkways. The governor says Kentucky's commitment to EVs will help bring more people to the bluegrass.
That they will see Kentucky as a place where if you want to drive an electric vehicle, you can drive all over all our state parks, every part of Kentucky, and be able to charge that vehicle.
With this latest round of contracts, the state's electric vehicle charging program will have added a total of 42 fast charging stations to Kentucky's roadways. Governor Beshear also signed an executive order declaring Juneteenth a state executive branch holiday. It names June 19th as Juneteenth National Day of Freedom in Kentucky. Juneteenth commemorates the day the last slaves in the U.S. were freed. The executive order comes after 3 failed attempts to pass legislation to make Juneteenth a state holiday. Education advocates met in Hazard yesterday to announce a group that will fight against a constitutional amendment on November's ballot in Kentucky. As WYMT's RJ Johnson reports, the group says it's about protecting public schools.
In November, Kentuckians will vote on an amendment change on House Bill 2. An amendment public education advocates say will take money intended for public schools and funnel them into private schools.
Because of what's on the line, the stakes are high for our families, our schools, and our communities.
Advocates created the Protect Our Schools Coalition. Perry County School Superintendent Kent Campbell says they want to stand up for their community.
Protect Our Schools Kentucky is committed to safeguarding our public schools and standing up for our students, our teachers, our families, and our communities.
Public education advocate Sawyer No says this will take away funding schools across the Commonwealth need for their staff and students.
This November, one of the most horrendous attacks levied on public schools in the history of our Commonwealth will be on the ballot. The adoption of the voucher amendment would strip public schools of so many necessary resources and divert them entirely to private, unaccountable institutions.
Perry County Schools Chief Financial Officer Jody Maggard says schools serve as a hub in their community and looks back at the role the schools played during the aftermath of the July 2022 floods.
It wasn't even one day after that flood happened that this school right here, East Perry Elementary, began to serve as a distribution center for relief efforts in our county.
He says he has seen similar amendment changes in other states and has not seen positive outcomes.
Over time, the strain placed on public schools by this voucher scheme become too much, and this leads to radical disinvestment of public schools.
Campbell says they are dedicated to protecting the future of the state. In Perry County, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
Leaders say they will continue advocating against the constitutional amendment change until the November election. WYMT has reached out to supporters of the amendment and will provide an update when we hear back. Officials with Perry County Schools have announced the location of South Perry Elementary School. The school will be built on the same property as R.W. Combs Elementary off Highway 15. Chief Financial Officer Jody Mackard says they have been looking for properties for the school for several years. He says it will be built as a new school and not in addition to the existing R.W. Combs.
It will be a completely new school. It will no longer be R.W. Combs Elementary. This is going to be South Perry Elementary. It'll have its own unique mascot, color scheme. The board is going to allow the students and staff to be a part of that selection. And it is going to be a new school. It is not going to be tied to the old R.W. Combs Elementary School. That school will be torn down through demolition.
Mackard says R.W. Combs will be torn down after South Perry Elementary will be built, ensuring no one will move during the process. The Breaks Interstate Park's water park expansion is officially opening this weekend. After more than 1 decade, the park now has a swimming pool in its water park. The expanded facility offers water slides, diving, swimming, and more, and will open on schedule this weekend to honor employee Zena Newsom. Newsom died last week, but her friends and co-workers say she worked hard to help get things ready for opening day, and it will now be a Memorial Day opening in her memory.
That's not lost on any of us. You know, it's a time of remembrance, and I know that her parents, her family, her friends, and us as the staff are going to be remembering her this weekend.
The park opens for the season on Saturday at 11 a.m.
And a good Friday morning to you. Some of us waking up to some locally dense fog. Talking about visibilities less than a mile. And you can see that from Harlan to Middlesboro to Jonesville to Williamsburg to Jacksboro. Visibility out your way of Pikeville less than 2 miles. And we've seen the visibility pea soup thick on the camera from I-64 at Moorhead. And dense fog advisories are in effect just outside our viewing area. Lexington to Liberty, Danville to Columbia points west. And that'll be in effect until mid-morning. Temperature-wise, not bad, feeling a little humid.
All right, and we will check back in with Tim in just a little bit. But thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. And when we return, former President Donald Trump held court in the South Bronx, trying to cut into President Biden's support in a Democratic stronghold.